Hi, this is Dorothy with Scrapbooking, and these are the cards that I'm going to make today, and they are from the seasonal September-October catalog, and they are over the pumpkin spice card making stamp and thin cut set. So there they are. We always give you ideas of what you can do with our various products, especially the stamp and thin cut sets or stamp sets. And this is another project that I'm going to make. I'm using my leftovers from my pumpkin spice papers from that catalog. And so if you have any of the leftover papers, then this is something that you can do too. And, you just want to, I don't know, I've just kind of decided I really need to use up the papers as I get them. So that takes care of storing them, right? You don't have to worry about that. So the first is the wonderful little pumpkin paper, and then the strip is a zip strip, so they're a 1/2 inch, and then I cut a piece of white cardstock so that it's about a 1/2 inch shorter on each side, so that's going to make it 3.25 inches, and then it's 5 inches long. So there's about a 1/2 inch at the top and bottom, so that's about 5 inches. So it can be, generally in the ballpark. You don't have to be absolutely perfect here. And these are the thin cuts that I cut a whole bunch of them. Because, if you're going to cut thin cuts, why not cut a bunch of them? And if you have leftovers, then just put them in your little envelope with your stamp set, and they're ready to go. So I'm using, that's a nectarine, and I'm just kind of, if you notice, the stamp has got 2 colors on it, and I'm using the rock and roll technique to give you a multiple color there. And I had cinnamon at first, and I thought, no, that's really too dark. It's got too much brown in it. So I'm using the paprika. And so go ahead and use the nectarine again. And I'm thinking that the way they did it was to do like a second generation of the nectarine and then do the edges in paprika. And so that's kind of the look that you get. Now, I kind of adjust it later and try some different things because the pumpkins don't have to look identical. So I'm going to go ahead with the nectarine, the second generation, and I'm going to use papaya to edge it. And that's going to give me a lighter orangey look. And that's what you get with that. So it's, just kind of depending on how you want it to look. So I'm using the straight first generation nectarine now, and then just edging it in the papaya. And that's a great look. So I'm trying to go over this one and just see if, yeah, I'm going to go with that one that was first generation nectarine and just a little edging in the papaya. So I'm using both of those pumpkins. So the first one was the second generation nectarine and then edged in the rock and roll technique in paprika. And then the little gourd is going to be done in nectarine with a little bit of the papaya. And it actually has a wonderful look. I love that. So you never quite know what it's going to come out looking like, but it's always fun to do it. And when you do this, you always want to use the lighter color ink first. You don't want to use the darker ink on top of the lighter ink. So that is my suggestion from experience. So I like this other little pumpkin, and so I'm going to do kind of a first and second generation here. And, you get kind of like maybe a light or something is shining on it. So the next thing I'm going to do is we've got the wheat stamp. And I've got my toffee someplace around. If I showed you what my workspace looked like, oh my goodness. So I'm going to do a second generation of the wheat and just kind of make it look like it's in the background. And so I'm going to add another one to it. So you just have a little hint of the wheat in the far background. And then the little stems are going to be covered up with the pumpkins. I'm also adding a teeny bit of glitz to the card. I'm using some of our gold thread. And I really like this because it just adds a little bit of glimmer to your card or scrapbook page, whichever you're making. And so I'm using a foam dot to kind of hold it down in place, and then I can put the another little foam dot there, keep it under control, and then I'm going to put the pumpkin on top of it and stick the pumpkin to the foam dots. So it raises it up a little bit, and that's what I do to the rest of the pumpkins and the gourds, is I'm going to raise them up with the foam dots. So just a little added dimension, a little shadowing behind the pumpkins to show some depth. And I'm liking the way this is going. So this is going to be a nice little autumn greetings type card that I'm sending to friends that have trouble getting around due to various problems that they have now. And so I'm grateful for being fairly healthy, even though I've been going to a lot of doctor's appointments just to make sure that the cancer is staying away. So far, so good. And, but I lost a friend on Friday, and she wasn't so lucky. 16 years after her first cancer diagnosis, she did real well for quite a few years, and then succumbed to metastatic breast cancer disease. So I was sending her cards, but this is one less card that I can send to her, so it makes me sad. But it just lets you know that, if you've got friends that are in that, or family that's in that situation, sending a little teeny bit of joy makes a big difference to people who are having struggles. And so to add a little bit more glitz, I'm just going to put some little Tombow dots around. And I'm just kind of going by the picture. So you can add and subtract if you want. It's all up to you. And this is my little new handy tool for picking up these sequins, and it just works so nicely. It's a little wax stick, so it's just really works. I love how it works. It just takes all the frustration out of dealing with these little staticky sequins. It takes all the trouble away. It's so simple. So, and the nice thing about the sequins is it doesn't add any thickness to your envelope. So you don't have a problem with the envelope getting torn up in the when it's going through the mail system. Lord knows we've got to take care of our mail system. Good grief. Ever since I found out that a Christmas card didn't make it until May, you have to appreciate getting your mail out and having it arrive. So now I'm going to use the Picture My Life cards. And these are great for decorating your scrapbook pages and adding journaling cards to your scrapbook pages. And so I'm using this little one. So it's a cute little, sweater weather and great colors. And there's enough space that I'm adding the greeting to it. So these can add, to your cards. And you get 4x6s and 3x4s. This is obviously a 3x4. And I just, they help you make life simpler. I mean, just so simple to, add a little color to the insides of your cards and adding a little bit of a greeting, a sentiment, but you still have plenty of space on the other side to write a little note. So here's my Hallmark stamp. That one came out really good. And the last thing that I do is decorate my envelope. And so you're getting kind of and I'm just going ahead and using the same stamp to give the second generation a go. And even though it didn't come out even, that's perfect. So there we go. There's my first card. And I'm really happy with the way it looks. I'm just really happy. Now we're going to do the second card. And I'm using the dot paper from the scraps. These were just left over from the some scrapbook pages I made. Good grief, I'm having a hard time talking. It's early in the morning for me. And also some more of the sweater paper, but I'm using the side that's got the trees on it. And this is going to go edge to edge. So it's about 2 inches by 5.5 inches. And the other one is about 5 1/4 inches by like 3 inches. And then I'm using one of the zip strips. And I just want a little bit of the dots to show, so I'm kind of creeping up until I have enough of the dots showing. So I really like this card too. And these are 2 more. So that's like 3 by 3, 3 1/4, or 3.5 by 3 1/4. And this is 3 1/4. Maybe by 3. And so these are the zip strips that have a lot of texture to them, some print to them, to add to the, the general look, so we don't have anything really flat going here. And see, you can tell that there's a 1/4 inch at the top and bottom, so that makes the length, that's 4 1/4, so it would be 1.5 inch off. So 3 3/4 long for the leaf piece. And I'm generally putting it towards the center. And I'm also using autumn greetings on the top of that. Now, if you wanted to, you could totally distress all of these pieces in maybe either the toffee or harbor. And I'm purposely putting that on an angle. And so now I'm going to make my little acorns. So I'm using the toffee, and here are my 2 cut acorns. And I'm using the cross hatching, but I realize that that one goes with the other acorn shape. I think I kind of decided in the end that's okay. So I'm using the second acorn shape and doing the toffee. And both of these are first generation. So we have one that's, look at how nicely that fits. And it over Yeah, such a cute little acorn, right? I love it. Now, I'm not going to do the same on the second one. I'm going to add a little bit of color to it, so I'm not going to use the toffee. I'm going to use paprika and make the top in the first generation paprika. That's a great color. And I'm going to use the nectarine for the cross hatching. And it really doesn't matter that that goes with the other shape of acorn. I think it looks fine that way, but I do like that one is striped and one is cross hatching. And of course, I'm going to pop them up with some foam dots, and 2 can fit on there of the bigger foam dots. And I am also going to add some of the gold string to add a little bit of glitz to our card here. So here comes my gold string. Trying to find the end. I've got all sorts of ends here. Too many ends. What does that mean? And I've got ink all over my hands. But that means I'm working, right? So I tried this string and it's just too short. So give yourself plenty of string because you can always cut it shorter. You can't cut it longer. Whoops. And there we go. So, and you can fray those ends just for a little bit more glimmer. Ta-da! So then I'm going to add some more of the sequins because, you know, you can't really have too much glimmer, can you? And look at all the layers on this card. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 layers on this card. I mean, that's quite a bit for a card, but I mean, it just looks, it looks so, it doesn't, I don't think it looks too busy. I really like the way this card comes out, and I appreciate the fact that the artists that close to my heart, you know, give us some good art to copy. So, you know, you can, it doesn't have to look exactly like what's in the book. You know, there is no perfect. None of us are perfect. And so, you know, you can adjust your see, this is one thing I'm doing different. They have actual stitching on both of the cards. Well, I just don't, I'd have to dig through and pull out my sewing machine, and I'm just not inclined to stitch on paper. A lot of girls do, a lot of women do, but I am using my jotting pen to just make some little stitches, some fake stitches, just to add a little bit of detail to the card. Probably not necessary, but just a little bit more detail. And this is some more of the Picture My Life cards. And I kind of like the Nuts About You just because I've got the acorns on the front of the, now if they had a smaller Nuts About You, I would have used it. But I'm just going to go ahead now. Remember, this is a 4x6. So there's going to be 1/8 of an inch at the top and the bottom because it's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, the card size. And so I am going over to cut off. So the card is 6 inches long and the length of the card is 5 1/2. So I cut off 3/4 of an inch so that there would be about 1/8 of an inch on either side to match the top and bottom. And so this just adds, and I don't even have to add a sentiment to the inside because we've got Nuts About You. That pretty much says it all. I just think this, it's really, and of course I'm going to put an acorn as my little Hallmark stamp here. And I do like the cross-hatching. And then I'll give the first generation top. So there's my card. And the envelope, gee, what do you think? You think I should put some acorns on it? Maybe? Because it just kind of makes sense, right? It goes with what they're going to find on the inside when they open it up. So I really like my wheat. So I'm just going to add a little bit of wheat stalks to the corner there. And I guess that I was thinking I was going to put an acorn, and decided the way I did this with the wheat, that I'm going to put a little gourd there. So he kind of looks really cute too. So, and I'm adding these little bitty leaves because number one, they're adorable. And number two, I had some ink in places that I didn't want it to be. So I'm covering it up because there's a lot of cover up in my world. So those are my 2 cards, and I hope you like them, and I hope you you don't have to use acorns, and you don't have to use pumpkin spice paper. You can make these cards with any of your scrap paper and any of your stamps that go with your paper. So I would just get out there and experiment, and I really like this little pumpkin spice set, and there's the cards again. So I hope you subscribe to my YouTube channel, and thanks for watching. Bye.